to break into the medical writing business for a little while now.
I'm a pharmacist by profession, but I'm a writer by heart. I try to figure out what else is out there that I can use writing and my science background.
I did want to do something extra. I really felt like I had a lot of skills that weren't being utilized.
And so it was like, I realized all of a sudden, you know what, I have the skills to do this. I just haven't done it yet. You do not have to be a fantastic superstar writer to do this. You will develop.
There are medical editors. That's a field and that's a position as well. So more so important than being a good writer is, are you able to be a good storyteller?
I started my side hustle, which is medical writing, editing.
I'm actually employed by a medical communications company, and I work fully remotely from home.
It has been such a wonderful, wonderful thing for me.
In a nutshell, it's an ego boost to empower you to achieve your dreams.
The job offers will come. Just do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Medical Writing Webinar 101. I am Dr. Alex Barker, CEO, founder of the Happy PharmD, where we help pharmacists get jobs that they love. Thanks for joining me. I know we had a false start there. Sorry about that for technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us live. If you are live, let us know in the chat where you're listening from, where in the United States or anywhere in the world. I would love to know. In today's session, we're going to be talking about what is medical writing, how pharmacists can get started in it. What are some of the awesome things about it? From two medical writers that are with us right now, I have Linda Dumas, who has her own writing company and is a pharmacist as well. We'll be sharing her experience. And why is it so much fun? Because sometimes I forget how much fun it can be. And then we will be talking about the career paths that you could be taking in medical writing. And you want to stay to the end, because I didn't even think about including this story initially. I didn't even think about it until someone on our team pointed it out, that because of medical writing, I was able to pay my house off 27 years early. And I didn't have a 100-year mortgage on it. It's a bad joke, but it is what it is. Hey, people from LA. Hey, Lamia. Hey, Harith from Houston. Some Georgia people from LinkedIn user. I'm so glad you're here, LinkedIn user. Hey, people. I see a lot of LinkedIn people. I'm wondering if we're live on YouTube. Let me know if there's any YouTube people here. Hey, we have people from Ghana. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you. So one of the things that I'd like to know before we jump into this is, are you thinking about medical writing as a part-time job, as a side hustle, as a business, as a complete career change? I'd love to know what brought you here, what you're thinking about in terms of your career and how this could fit into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Medical Writing Webinar 101. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Alex Barker, founder of the Happy PharmD, and I'm a medical writer too. When I created this presentation, I almost thought to not even include a lot of my experience. But if you stick to the end of tonight, I'm going to briefly share a story that is about how I paid off my house 27 years early from medical writing. And it wasn't a 100-year mortgage. And yes, I've told that joke a few times now. With me tonight is Linda Dumas. Hey, Linda. Linda is a Happy PharmD coach client, as well as the owner of a medical writing company. She's also helped us out with a few things in our writing. And she has been writing now for quite a few months now, I believe. Correct? You've been since last year?
I started in June of 2020.
Oh,
right
okay.
During the pandemic. Yeah. So.
Right. When everyone was coming up with new habits, new hobbies, you were writing.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be sharing a little bit of her experience and talking about medical writing. For those of you listening to this in the future, I had such a horrible tech problem, and thank you to those that are live putting up with me. It's been an ordeal. but we're going to go ahead and get started and jump right in because this is some important stuff tonight. We know already that a lot of people here are wanting to get into medical writing because it can be a side hustle, because it could be a part-time job, it could be an entire career change, or starting up a honest to God business. And if you saw some of the people who were sharing their stories at the beginning of this, those are people that have full-time jobs in medical writing, pharmacists who have businesses now. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight, but Brittany Hoffman Eubanks, who was really one of my first major, I would say, business coaching clients way back in the day. She started up Banner Medical before working with me, and now it's a pretty massive company. She hires other pharmacists, and that's the beauty of medical writing. All of these people who shared their stories, just really short, were not people who probably consider themselves great writers or highly intelligent about any subject imaginable to write about. They just got started, just like you tonight with us. And thank you for those of you who are live. I appreciate your kind words. Hey, and there's Dr. Jackie Boyle. Hey, Jackie. So very briefly, what is medical writing? It's any kind of information or written word that's probably written by a trained professional. So that's anything from like ad copy to medical writing leaflets on drugs, clinical research, clinical trials, news articles, slide decks, regulatory writing. The American Medical Writing Association kind of puts medical writing into 5 main buckets: regulatory writing, education writing, health communication, promotional writing, and then grant writing. Brittany Hoffman Eubanks has done considerable amount of work in grant work. Linda, what has been the majority of your kind of medical writing that you've been actually paid to do?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, I decided to start a medical writing company, and I started working with a lot of startups, like think small healthcare tech startups. And when I first started, there was a lot of buzz around like continuous glucose monitoring and like how that was going to become mainstream. And so I started doing a lot of writing about like continuous glucose monitoring and supporting startup companies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you say that you were very knowledgeable about those subjects?
I mean, I was interested in them, but knowledgeable, not necessarily. I had to do a lot of research. So I was able to pull a lot of like documents and kind of tailor what they were looking for into my own medical writing. So, just trying to come at it from a professional level and just being good at storytelling, really, that's a lot of, medical writing is just like articulating the facts but in a way that other people can understand it. So my tagline of my medical writing company was making pharmaceuticals make sense to, that was like my tagline. So that's my goal of when I do medical writing, is to make it like understandable to the general public.
You sound proud of that tagline. You should be.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, no, it is. That's really what medical writing is making medical nonsense to most people understandable, easy to comprehend, and putting it in just to a layman language. And I think this speaks to really what I perceive to be the best thing about medical writing, which is that it's fun. It's fun. I don't know if you had the same experience I had in pharmacy school, but I didn't enjoy studying. I really didn't. I did not enjoy late nights, binging, memorizing chemical structure compounds, of Tylenol and other medicines and being able to figure out where the sulfide bond was. And that to me felt like useless knowledge. But kind of like how Linda just shared, one of the benefits of this career path is you get to dig into something, hopefully ideas and topics that you're actually interested in, and you get to research and use that knowledge to create something. This is something that I really struggled with as a pharmacist. Like once I figured out clinical pharmacy, once I figured out how to treat patients, the challenge was gone. You know, and I felt like a depressed Sherlock Holmes. Like I can solve your problems, but at the end of the day, like this isn't a challenge. You know, I need a real challenge in order to be engaged with this. And the beauty of medical writing is ideally you can get involved into different avenues within healthcare, just about any topic imaginable. And you can dive in and read research and use that to educate. It could be people that are wanting to decide on a grant, right? If they can be funded for research. It could be something as simple as writing a blog article about a new drug compound coming to market, and they need someone to write about it on their website so that it is SEO friendly, search engine optimization friendly, and rank high for it when people search for it on Google. Or it could be just something as simple as writing education materials for people who go to elementary schools to provide education about different health related ideas and concepts. I'm seeing some love in the chat. Hey, Brandy. And hopefully that's the kind of fun that I think people are having. I think you saw that in some of the people who shared their stories, that when you're working on a project, you get to interact with different stakeholders, from CEOs and executives to marketing developers, from marketing executives to even app developers. Who you meet will surprise you. Linda, I don't think I prepared you at all for this question, but you've told me about your other jobs and the people that you work with. Did you ever imagine that you'd be helping them and do what you do?
No, so I've gotten to work with some really interesting companies. You know, startup culture is like really exciting. Things are moving fast, and just, you know, like I was working with the CEO of this company, and I never would have thought like that they would, you know, want to like work with me one on one and try to really like come up with a strategy. And it's just, I always felt like those people in those high levels at startups were like very unreachable, but they actually, you know, like when you put yourself out there and you talk about your passions, you know, people listen, especially to pharmacists. You know, they want to hear what we have to say.
Wow, it's like we're experts or something.
Who knows?
For you, Linda, what's the most fun part of it? You work with clients, you do sales, you do marketing, you create content, and then you also create content for your clients, right? Because I know you also have a blog, so you write for yourself, but then others. To you, what's the most enjoyable aspect?
I think, like, for me is the final product. Like, I'm just so proud of the final products, you know, and I don't get that out of my retail pharmacy job, you know, like there's nothing that I can like hold on to for years and be proud of, and you know, share or have people reach out and tell me that they read it and it meant a lot to them, or they learned a lot from it. Like, it's very rewarding to hear that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think I'm addicted to achievement, because I usually move on when I'm done with something. Like I don't think about it, but that's really insightful for you to just be able to revel in what you created. like it's almost like you get to see, you know, your name on the New York sign billboard, right, in Times Square, and it's like, oh, that's me, you know, I did that kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, it was really cool when I wrote this really awesome piece for this healthcare tech startup company. And then, you know, they sent it out to all of their email subscribers. And I was an email subscriber to see like my article come through on their website. It was like, oh, like that's really cool. Like, how many inboxes did my article just end up in? You know, they had a big following. And so, I mean, it's still, you know, it's still on their website, it's still getting views, it's still out there like educating people. So it has a lasting effect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like telling some stories, but I know we need to move on. And so I want to talk about the benefits of getting into this career path. And I kind of hinted at this earlier that it it accesses, I think, the part of your brain that you left behind in college. Um, I think some people may feel this way, that when you're really excited to learn about something, you spend more time than you would on most things to research it and understand it and to do your due diligence. Whether you're wanting to buy like a really expensive golf club set, or buy a new pool, or look at getting a new garage door, or you're wanting to read every book from your favorite author. That's the kind of excitement that I feel like is happening in medical writing, because you get to find a problem, whether you have a job or a gig, and you get to dig in deep to something and become really an expert on the matter through published journals, through internal documents. You get to find out all sorts of things about what exactly you want to create. And when you are a medical writer, you can typically do it from the benefit of your home. There's curses with working from home too, don't get me wrong, but I don't have to go in my commute anymore. I don't have to sit in an office where I don't want to be. Get to work from the comfort of my own home and do work when I want to do it. And occasionally have children outside of my office window scream at me. I'll take that downside. Linda, I know that you are working as a full-time community pharmacist, but you also fit in medical writing, or any kind of writing really, into your day-to-day. What's your schedule like?
So I work 12-hour shifts as a community pharmacist, and I usually that works out to like 3 or 4 days a week. And so I have a very strict writing schedule that I set aside for my days off, where, you know, I set aside time on my calendar and I really get into the flow state of writing and just work on a project for like an hour, and then you know you take a break, and then you kind of come back to that same project. And you know, you get to a point in your writing after, you know, I've been doing this for, I'm going on 3 years, so you get to a point where like you have reached your limit for the day, and I've just learned how to call it at that point. Like, the writing isn't getting any better, it's time to just like walk away. And my biggest tip is like, you don't write and edit in the same day, because when you write, you use one side of your brain, and when you edit, you use the other, and you can't do it at the same time. So, and then on certain days, I schedule editing. So I go back and review what I've written and then make the changes then.
That's a smart idea. I do the same thing because I find editing so laborious, and I have to sit there and think critically about what I just created. And it's like that start, stop kind of like, I just want to run, even if it looks ugly. Like, I just want to run with my ideas, let it all hang out and be ugly. And then I'll come back to it, and I'll make it pretty later.
Yeah.
At least that's
And there's
my
so much
Go
there's
ahead.
so much power in also like when you're editing to get a second set of eyes on your piece of work. I have somebody I go to edit my stuff, and it's so powerful because you can see it through a different lens of somebody else reading it, you know?
Yes. And so now we want to talk about how can medical writing become your career path, your business, your side hustle. The beauty of medical information is that this is a growing field that's not going away. I feel like some pharmacists feel like technology will be replacing us. There's a lot of talk about AI replacing a lot of different aspects of our culture and our workplace. And while I do feel pretty strongly about AI, Linda knows how much of a fan I am of Chat GPT. Legally and for best practices, there will probably never ever be a day where a human doesn't touch some sort of health information and have it go out into the world. This is a growing field, and I think we all know and believe big pharma, they're not going away. I mean, they make more profit in one quarter than most countries. So, because of all that money, they need to employ people who can specialize in practically any kind of health information area. You can find jobs right now as a pharmacist, BS Pharm or PharmD, without prior experience to get a job doing this kind of work. Now, there are some downsides going straight into the field. You could be potentially competing with other people with just medical writing degrees. Those jobs typically go anywhere from 60 to 70 to 80K. But there are medical writing pharmacist specific jobs online where you can do this work. It's often remote. It's often, or at least kind of half remote, half in office. And you don't necessarily need to have prior experience, although it's highly recommended. You can work also as a business. I see people asking that question. How do you get started? How do you get started doing that? Well, it really comes down to creating things like a portfolio, being able to showcase what have you written in the past and why that is the kind of writing whoever your customer would end up being. Having a portfolio of your work is able to showcase who you are, what you've done, how do you write, what's your style, what is your approach to work. You also need to consider what you will charge for something like that. Rates range wildly from job to gig to project. And from practically every person that I've ever helped with medical writing, or I think from any pharmacist we've helped as a company, it's almost always the same story. Linda, actually, you could. I'll use you. Do you think, Linda, that you undersold yourself for your first couple of gigs?
100%. 100%.
This isn't now. Hold on. I'm not picking on Linda because she's here. I did the same thing. It wasn't totally medical writing, but I remember the first time I asked someone to pay me like $50 to do something, and I had more sweat dripping down my back than I do when I speak. Okay, and it's a lot of sweat. It's gross, but but I was so nervous. And Linda, what do you think led you to undersell your services?
I think I was just really excited. Like the opportunity was there. They
Right.
wanted to work with me. I wanted to work with them. And I was kind of like, I'm going to give you an offer, but I really want to get this job. So I feel like I should have gone a little higher, and I think they still would have paid it. But that's, when you start a medical writing company, it's kind of like you want to get the ball rolling, you want to get going, you want to build that portfolio and get money in the bank. And so you're just, you need someone to kind of like help you through that, to figure it out,
Yeah, because when you're by yourself, typically you're like, I don't know, am I worth $25 to do this? Like, you sure you really want to pay me to do something that I would enjoy doing? there's a lot of negative self-talk, I think, if you go down that route. But whether you want to go off on your own and get into the gig economy, or you want to get a job full-time or part-time, it follows a pretty similar path. And that involves, like I said, getting some practice, building a portfolio, and having someone look at your work and give you critical feedback. The beauty of doing this path is that you can become an expert in any field you want. I like to think of myself as someone who reads a lot of professional research about pharmacists. I'm always talking about it. I speak at conferences. I go to associations. I went to APHA just a couple months ago and spoke there. And I use that knowledge to get paid to deliver quite a bit of content. And I'm jumping ahead. I want to tell my story. But there's other things that you can do too. And I want to make sure that I talk about these, that through writing, you can create things like passive income. It is not easy. It's not like you can do it once and you start making money. It does take time, but there are gigs available where you can get paid for doing something once and getting it paid for over and over again. You can also choose how much work you would like to do. That's my favorite part. I'm going to be sharing very shortly a workshop that we have planned that talks in depth more about how to build a portfolio, how to get started. But one of the things that I like about it is what I'm going to be sharing, and I'm really excited to share it in this workshop. And it's how I spend very minimal amount of work to produce some really high quality content and get paid very, very well. And the future of this, and this is something that Lynn and I have been talking about quite a bit, is that we can use AI to at least help us get started. I don't know about you, but writer's block is real for me. Sometimes I look at a blank page and I go, what am I going to say? I don't know what to say. But one of the things that ChatGPT in particular, and now Microsoft just announced their new AI assistant, one of the things that they're great at is getting you started. So it could be something as simple as you have a gig available. You need to produce a monograph, a CE monograph about the latest lung cancer to be discovered. Okay, that's your assignment. You're going to be paid $1,000 to produce this monograph. And you don't know where to start. Well, you can go and use AI to come up with an outline as to the major things that you could write about. And that could drive you to research things, to get into articles. There's so much that you can do with this endeavor. And the cool thing too, one of the things that I like about a career coach company that we have is, we try to stay in contact with a lot of past clients, and we get to see them where they started and where they ended up. And some people have used medical writing to make complete career transitions into different industries where they never thought they would be in, all the way from clinical practice to regulatory affairs, to working for the government, to working for research agencies. It's so awesome, the opportunities that this can open up. And so now what I'd like to do is share my story of how I used medical writing to pay off my house. So there I was. I was a young pharmacist. Didn't know what I was doing with my life. If you have read my book, you know that in the early in my career, I dealt with some bullies that made me really question, what am I doing? Should I even be a pharmacist? I had workplace bullies that it really burned me out, and I felt awful. And I felt like there's got to be something else in pharmacy that I would love to do. There's got to be something else. And this is all in my book. And if you'd like my book, hey, send me a private message on LinkedIn. Happy to send you a copy of it for free. It's digital. I have the power to do so. Just don't tell Amazon. So at the time, I got involved with writing. I had heard about passive income. I remember learning about it, and I was like 25, and I thought, I'm 25 years old and I'm just now learning about this concept. I felt so stupid. But I heard about blog writing, so I started doing it. I don't know what I'm doing it. And I eventually landed a gig where they were paying me not per word, which is very typical for writers to be paid, especially through any kind of news media. The going rate, depending on the topic, is anywhere from 10 to 20 cents per word, although that has significantly changed. But at the time, I was paid to send traffic to this website. I was paid based on unique visitors. So someone who's never been to the website. And I wrote about very contentious things. I wrote about the latest trends, and I wrote about things that were countercultural. And I drove traffic to that website and was paid very well. I still have a pay stub somewhere in my office. Yeah, it's right over there. It's too far for me to reach, but there's a pay stub over there to remind me. And I don't know how much is on there, but it's like a few $1,000s. And I remember receiving this check and thinking, for the amount of work I did, that is insane that I am getting paid this much. And now I'm here. I am living in a house that I own thanks to this side hustle. And if you want to get started on the side hustle, then I want to invite you here and now to a workshop. This is a medical writing workshop where we're going to get you started, jumpstart as it were, onto your medical writing career. We're going to be sharing with you the 3 things that you need to do today to get started on this path if you're committed and ready to create a career that you love. We will be talking a little bit about how you can get started with passive income and writing, affiliate marketing in particular. And the thing that I'm the most excited about, I've been hinting at it way too much, but I'm going to share the exact step-by-step process, exactly what I did to get paid $400 for 2 hours of work. And I used AI and I created some information and delivered it all in 2 hours time. It wasn't an ideal project. It wasn't what I anticipated, but I'll show you exactly what I told the AI to do. I'll show you exactly how I organized it. And I'll even reveal, and as a part of this workshop, I want to introduce you to a paid gig. Actually, I may be overstepping my bounds. I don't know if we're doing that or not, but we'll talk about it if you join the workshop. This workshop will teach you how to create a portfolio that will beat your competition so that you have some samples that you can show people exactly what you're capable of and why you are the writer for them. You also will learn more about the kind of jobs that you can be doing. And then we will also talk about, I feel like there was one more thing, but I don't have it. So that's it. That's what the workshop is. This workshop will be 1.5 hours long. It'll be live and recorded, happening on June 7th, which is, I believe, at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's 2 weeks from today. It'll be led by myself and my lovely co-host, Linda. She'll be sharing some of her knowledge as well on how she got started and what you can do to kind of jump ahead of the curve, right? Because as Linda shared and I shared, we've made a lot of mistakes and we would love for you to avoid those. There's a live Q&A at the very end, and we're happy to answer 1 or 2 questions after the workshop as well. The purpose of this workshop is to get you started on medical writing. It's meant to jump start you so that you don't have to waste time wondering, what do companies want from me? How do I submit proposals? How do I negotiate price? None of that will help you get ahead. Now, if you want to join tonight, you can do so by going to thehappypharmd.com/WW24. Now, this is a workshop. So we're demanding things of you. We're going to be asking things of you to show up and to really participate. And because we're showing up, we are going to be charging $249 for this. Okay, so approximately 4-5 hours of work in a typical pharmacist job. But for tonight, I think for like the next hour, if you would like to join now, we love to reward you for being with us. We're going to be offering 50% off so that the price is like $124. But that coupon code only lasts for an hour. I don't know. We had a false start. I know my marketing team is going to be so mad at me, but like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm sorry, Tamar. I tried my best to start on time, but let's give them a break. Maybe let's make this coupon code last a little bit more. But for now, that's what we said. It's only lasting for an hour. So if you want to join, again, that link is thehappypharmd.com/WW24. And if you want 50% off, the coupon code is good for an hour. Maybe, maybe. I may extend it a little more. And that code again was MedWrite50. MedWrite50. So again, this workshop, it's an hour and a half long, 2 weeks from today, to help you get started on your medical writing career. If you have questions, I think we can take some Q&A right now. And some of the questions we're getting, it looks like they're on different platforms. So some questions are going to show on the screen, some won't. So just FYI. If they do pop up here, I will try to show them. So one person asked me, via LinkedIn. This is private. Okay. I don't know if I have time to do this. I don't know if I can make it live, and I want to make it so that this doesn't take up a ton of extra time. Yeah. So I think that's a great question. Like I shared earlier in this workshop, we'll be sharing what I do because I also don't have hours and hours of time to research new things. But let me ask you, if you could create 30 minutes a day to dedicate to writing, could you do that? Could you wake up 15 minutes earlier? On your day off, could you write for 30 minutes or a few minutes in the evening? If you have a day off, just like Linda, I need to figure out which direction you are. Just like Linda, you can batch your work too on a day off. Let me share, though, a secret. So like I hinted at, there are tools that you can use to not force yourself to do the things about writing that maybe you don't enjoy. I don't like editing. I use tools to help me sound better, to sound the best, because I often write how I talk, and that's not always the bestest. It is what it is. That's okay. What time is it? It'll be live, but also recorded too, Stanley. It's June 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern. It'll be hosted, I believe, on Zoom. I'm not sure if that turns you off or not. I know it does for some people. But in that workshop, we'll be talking for an hour and a half. Brian asks a very interesting question. Can you share what a typical day in the life of a medical writer looks like? Linda, what does it look like for you?
Well, it's project based. So I kind of know what I'm working on. And I like, again, I start out, I go for an hour, I give myself a break, I schedule in breaks, and I sometimes will change up what I'm working on. So might start out on, you know, a blog post that I was asked to write, and then move on to writing content for the CEO, or writing a grant, or, you know, a proposal. There's different aspects to it, you know, on what I'm doing.
Sounds a little secretive, almost like there's intellectual property going on there. Yeah, I think it changes for everybody, right? It's once you get started, you find your flow, you dedicate how much time you think you need to it. And through experience, you're going to be able to learn how long a project will take you.
Yeah.
One private message says, "Hey, will this help me? I don't have any experience and I'm not even sure if I'm a good writer." And actually, I see someone saying, the perfect curry says, any tips for non-native English speakers? You know, as someone who got solid B minuses in English, you can do this. If you're a pharmacist in America, you have a doctorate or a bachelor's, which if you have some years of experience, you have the equivalency of a doctorate. We have the experience. We're going to give you exactly what you need to do this. And if you feel like your writing is not that great, there's great editors out there. A lot of businesses hire writers just to get the base content, and then they have their own internal editors to do that work as well. Linda knows what it's like. She's had her work edited by executives and marketing and all sorts of other people, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these companies have editors on staff. You're not going to be responsible for all of that. You know, if you're freelance, you know, you can find people to edit your work, you know?
Yeah, what you need to know is the science, and you already do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a pharmacist, you are way more intelligent probably than what you give yourself credit for. And in the workshop as well, we're also going to be sharing 2 free tools that you can use to help with your writing that can help reform it, reshape it, make it sound a little more professional if that's what you're afraid of. There's lots of tools that you can use, many of them free. Let me see here. Ooh, this is a good question. Can pharmacy students get started and paid in medical writing while still in school? I was going to make a grammatical error there and say whilst still in school, but I admitted to it now. I guess I'm guilty of it. I think for the right company, yes. Now, I think you're going to have to find that opportunity. I do not believe most professional large companies, big regulatory affairs companies, Pfizer, pharma companies, they're not going to hire a student, probably. But the way to get started really is to start writing. You can get paid to write. There are companies out there. I mean, there's a whole other business world, okay, outside of pharmacy, where there's people teaching people how to write and get paid. There are blogs, news websites. I mean, there's some pharmacy influencers that I know very well who get paid to write about their vacations. I mean, there's no end to what you could get started to do this. Let me see here. What if I do this workshop and I just don't want to I don't want to commit? Well, okay, that's a fair question. I would say join. You know, we have a money back guarantee. You know, if you're not happy, if you're like, wow, I did this workshop and I didn't get anything out of it, then just ask for your money. You know, we'll give it back to you. No. At least within 1 week after the program, I would say take it. You know, for 2 hours of work as a pharmacist, you can learn a career path that can easily make you a lot of money moving forward. I mean, I don't like asking people typically like Linda how much they make from the side hustle, but I can say from experience that I make a few $1,000s every month or so from different things that I do. I know a couple people who do it full time, and they're ranging any. It does depend. It does depend on whether they have a job or there's gigs. But we're talking anywhere from four on the low end, if it's a part-time job, $4,000 to when it's a great month, $15,000, $20,000. But remember, there's a lot of work involved and time, so everyone's got a different story. So I got one more question here. And oh no, there's a few more. I'm sorry. Ooh, actually, there's some really good questions here. Can you tell what's the entry-level position we should be looking out for? I don't know if you want an entry-level position, to be honest with you. An entry-level medical writing position would, like I said before, would be like $60,000. If you're a pharmacist, you can get paid a lot more to do work. So it really does depend. For a person with retail experience, what should my resume be reflecting to be considered for medical writing? It's a great question. It feels like a coaching question, and I'm not going to coach you live. Are you kidding me? But no, just kidding. You should start writing. Put that on your resume if you're applying to a job. Start writing, publish it online. Amanda asks, can you share samples of your work? Linda, do you think, in the workshop, I think we can do that.
Yeah, I would be happy to share some of my pieces that I'm most proud of in the workshop.
And Amanda, I'm going to show what I did in 2 hours of work to get paid $400. I'll show you everything I did, and it'll be a sample. It's easy peasy. Are there positions for pharmacists to be medical editors as well? Those are fewer and far between. There are some that you can do that. They have different titles, but those are more like, frankly, I think a lot of pharmacists in marketing, that's what I feel like they're practically editors, because they look at the things that companies want to put out to the public, and they have to make sure, is this medically correct? Is this legally correct? Can we make these claims? That kind of stuff. That to me is like an editor's job, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find anything on Indeed that was traditionally medical editor pharmacist. Could be wrong though. All right, one more question. Let me see here. Sorry, I showed that. How soon? Oh, that's a fair question. How soon do you think you can start a job of medical writer after the workshop? Well, if you mean a gig, right away. You'll have what you need in order to approach a company, to apply to a job, or to, propose something for continued education, anything like that. I would say right after, you're ready to go. ASHB has a certificate program in medical writing. Do you recommend getting a certification or any other educational programs? This is a touchy subject, and I'm going to answer it. And this will be the final question because we've been talking for too long. So I'm going to say that more education is never a bad thing, but don't let getting a certification be the reason why you don't do the work that you could be doing right now. If you're a pharmacist, again, I'll say this again, you're a doctorate level professional. You're incredibly intelligent. And yes, you need to gain some experience, but you can do that and get paid to learn while you do it. Linda, do you have a certification in anything? No.
No.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
don't think you need it.
my sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say you don't need it. I mean, it's a good thing to have if you're going to make it like your full-time job or you're looking to like transition into doing it. But when you're starting out, I think it's just more important to have a portfolio, to have work published.
Yeah, businesses don't care.
Mhm.
Businesses don't care. I've talked to many hiring managers, and I've heard enough people to say that if they have a certificate, especially from the wrong program, they just ignore it on their resume. I'm not saying that about ASHP. I'm not saying that about anyone in particular. I'm just saying you don't need it to get started. Okay, this one's pertinent. If you pay for the course tonight and unable to attend the 7th, would you be able to gain access to the recording? Yeah, absolutely. As far as I know, you'll have lifetime access. As long as the Happy Farm D exists and I don't die, you got it. Even if I die, that's the guarantee. Even if I die, you'll still get it. Can't end on that morbid note, Linda. What kind of web host am I? Thank you all for joining me tonight. I had a ton of fun. Thank you if you're watching this in the future, because you didn't have to watch me struggle for 10 minutes. And thank you for those of you who are live who put up with me. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask me on LinkedIn in particular. Again, we'd love to see you in that workshop. It will be, you can access it at thehappyfarmd.com/WW24. And like I said, there's that coupon MedRight50 for 50% off. So it's $125 now. 2 hours of work as a pharmacist to potentially learn how to start a whole new career where you're making more money than the price of that. And with that, we will end the broadcast. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Linda.
Thank you.